So one thing I wanted to talk about briefly is this. These cubes need to have the tension set on them. The internal components of this are not like a traditional old Rubik's Cube. We've all taken Rubik's Cubes apart and put them back together. This is a little bit more challenging. Okay, so I'm going to just show you what one of these pieces looks like. So these are flexible. These cubes have shock absorbers in the middle pieces, and so they flex like this, and that's what allows that corner cutting that we talked about earlier. So I take it apart. You grab one of these edge pieces and you turn it. The edge pieces have these wings on it like this, and then this little piece here, which they call the torpedo. In the inside of the cube, all these various wings and torpedoes and things link up with each other, and what that does is it prevents the pieces from popping out and flying all over the place. Well, if the tension of your cube isn't right, it'll stretch enough and flex enough that it'll pop apart anyway. Expect that your cube will fall apart at some time, okay? So don't be afraid of it, and know what to do about it, okay? So we're actually going to, also when you first get your cube when you order it from Amazon, the tension will undoubtedly be too loose. Every cube I've ever seen that came through Amazon, the tension on it was too loose. And so what I would expect to do is, as soon as your cube arrives from Amazon, take it apart, set the tension, put it back together, and lubricate it. That's what I would do immediately upon ordering a cube, okay? So you have to know how to take it apart and put it back together anyway. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. So we've removed a piece, and then what I would do, so once you've removed a piece, then it's easy, then it just comes apart, right? Then the piece is just, okay. The best way to remove the first few edge pieces is to turn them. See, like here's an edge piece, turn it sideways, okay? So I'm going to finish taking this cube apart, and I'm going to talk about how to put it back together, how to set the tension and everything, okay? Okay, so this is what the middle core of this cube looks like, and you can see that each of these center pieces has what I described already as a shock absorber. Okay, I recommend setting the tension on this. I feel like the ideal tension for having a fast cube and one that will do good corner cutting but is less likely to fall apart in your hands is this. When you pull the piece out like this, you'll see a screw, and that screw drives into this center hub, this white plastic hub here in the middle. I recommend tightening it so that you can see 2 or 3 threads of the screw above the edge of the hub. And I feel that that's when you can pull these pieces out and see 2 or 3 threads of the screw remaining above the edge of the hub, that is the ideal amount of tension. Now, how do you set the tension? You take these caps off the middle pieces like this, and you'll see a screw right here, okay? You turn that screw with a screwdriver, and the screw goes into this plastic hub here in the middle, and if many of the threads are visible, then you have a lot of movement of this middle piece, and it's a loose tension, and that's when I feel that the pieces will fall apart. The cube will fall apart in your hands. If you don't have if you have no threads showing, or you have it really, really tight, then you don't get any corner cutting, and your cube is too tight, and it doesn't work as well. Okay, it's not as smooth. So I think 2 or 3 threads. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're setting the tension: take one of these caps off, set the tension, put it back on. Because if you take all the caps off, you may not remember how to put them back on again. I happen to know the sequence of colors, where white is opposite yellow, and then when it's like this, they go in the order of red, green, orange, blue, with white on the bottom and yellow on the top. So I could take all my caps on and put them all back in the right order. But if you haven't learned the Rubik's Cube and how it's built, if you take all the caps off, you may not remember how to put them back on again. But anyway, if you should take all the caps off, that's the order. With white on the bottom and yellow on the top, then it goes red, green, orange, blue, like this, counterclockwise around the cube. Okay, so, but I recommend taking one cap off, setting the tension, putting it back on, taking the next cap off, setting the tension, putting it on, and that way you won't get stuck not knowing how to put it back together. Okay, so once you've got the tension set, one thing you might want to do is take some kind of let's see, where's my lubricant here? I use this dental handpiece lubricant, which you won't have because you're not a dentist, but I take dental handpiece lubricant and I pull the pieces out like this, and I take the tip of this and I lubricate right down against the screw so that a little bit of the lubrication can get up inside the center piece, and that's a nice way to make it so that you get nice turning on these. So after you don't have to do that though. I mean, you could if you wanted. One thing you don't want to do is use something like petroleum jelly to lubricate the inside of your cube, because that just collects dirt and it gunks up your cube and it's hard to get off. So if you're going to lubricate your cube, use something like WD-40. Okay, use some kind of a really good thin petroleum type lubricant. I would use a little bit of WD-40. The smell of WD-40 goes away after a little while. So the lubricants I use have no smell at all. So that little handpiece lubricant doesn't smell like anything. I'm not sure where you could get something like that. Maybe try to go to Ace Hardware or something and see if they have some little thin lubricant that doesn't have an odor associated with it. I'm going to talk in a minute about silicone lubricant. I recommend using it under certain circumstances but avoiding it for others, because silicone lubricant eats the plastic away on these. So not just anything will work. Okay, but that's for later discussion. So here are the pieces that go with our Rubik's Cube. And what I recommend doing is separating out all the pieces that have white associated with them into one pile. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so I have the 4 edge pieces put in. That wasn't too difficult this time. Sometimes it takes me a while and I get kind of frustrated. Once you have the 4 edge pieces put in like that, now you can begin placing the corner pieces. So this is why it's useful to separate your pieces into piles so that they're handy and you don't have to fish around for them. So you just notice that, of course, that you put the edge pieces in so that everything matches. We're going to assemble the cube so that it's solved. If you put your cube together randomly, it may not be solvable when you're done. There are configurations of the pieces that create an unsolvable cube, and that's pointless to do that. So always assemble it correctly with the correct colors in the correct orders, and that way when you're done you won't find that you've put your cube together in a way that can't be solved. Okay, so you go through and put the corners in, making sure to match up all your colors. This part is not too difficult if you've got your edge pieces in right to start with. Okay, there's a lot of tension still in these middle pieces, and so if you don't have to be super careful on this step, but if you're not careful at all, you can dislodge there. So now we've got the corner pieces put in there. Now you're going to do the middle edge pieces. These are the ones that have neither yellow nor white on them, and the best way to put them in is to put it in like that and then press down. Okay, so assemble that. And then blue, orange, and orange, green. We're almost. Okay, and so now all we have to do is the final layer, which is the yellow layer. And the best way to do the yellow layer is to go around in a circle until, so you got to lift up this centerpiece like that, okay, and then the best thing to do from here is to place a corner. So you want to find the corresponding corner here, which is going to be yellow, green, red, and rotate, and I don't know, there's got to be an easier way to do that, but rotate and get that piece. Now you want to do the next middle piece, then the next corner, then the next middle, and then I'll show you how to finish it up here in just a second. So after having put all the pieces in on the final layer, except for one piece, this is how you put it. This is how you put the final piece in. You can't have a corner piece as your final piece. It's very difficult to put a corner piece in as the last piece. The last piece to put in should be an edge piece, okay? And the way you put that edge piece in is by placing it. Now if I just shove, it will not go in, okay? You break it before it'll go in. What you do is this: turn it sideways. See how I've got it turned sideways like this? Turn it sideways and push and turn. And that way, that's how you insert it. Remember from the beginning of the video, you grab it and turn it to pull it out. Well, you put it in place and turn as you push, and that's how you insert it. So that's how you put your cube back together. Okay? So when you get your cube, I recommend taking it apart, setting the tension, putting it back together. And you can lubricate the inside of it as I showed earlier. Okay? And then it'll be a nice smooth cube with the tension set correctly so that it doesn't explode on you. Okay, one final comment I want to make about the cube. They require no lubricant at all. Okay, they're smooth, they move quickly and easily with the tension set, so they don't actually require lubrication. However, if you lubricate them, they can be even nicer. Okay, and I have come across, so one thing you could do is you could use something like WD-40, I don't know. I understand that has kind of a bad smell and it can take a while for that to go away, so I don't know that I would use WD-40. Do not use something like a petroleum jelly or vegetable oil or any kind of oil like that, because it gunks them up on the inside. What I prefer to do is, I have this light oil that I use for lubricating my hand pieces. You go to Ace Hardware and find something that's light and has no odor to it. That would be a good idea for lubricating it. The perfect thing I've come across is it takes about 3 weeks to a month to get your cube just right, but this is an amazing thing. Okay, spray silicone lubricant like you get at Ace Hardware has the interesting effect of eating away the plastic on the inside of the cube. And you'll notice, you may have remembered when I took this apart and we were looking at the inside core, it had little black flecks of plastic stuck to the inside core. That's because I'm in the process of perfecting this cube. I already have one that's just absolutely amazing. It's so glossy, smooth, so perfect. It's noiseless, and it's just amazing. Okay, and what you do is this. Take out a piece like this. Take your silicone spray lubricant, and I'm not going to do it right now, but you spray some into, maybe for 1 second, you kind of spray it around inside of there. Then you quickly replace the piece, and you have to be fairly quick about this because, remember, that lubricant is eating away the plastic on the inside of the cube. You need to begin moving it immediately. And so what you'll feel is when you place the lubricant, it actually has the opposite effect at first. It causes the plastic to begin melting and sticking the pieces together, and so you can feel it sticking. If you just leave it and come back, what will happen is the layers will be fused together. You will have made a mess. So if you're going to do this, you spray it, and then you have to dedicate about 5 minutes to moving all the pieces. Okay? Then if that was on the upper, like say that was on the white side up here, then you pick the yellow one over here and do the same process and move it. Okay? And after 5 minutes or so, then you're safe to set it down. And then you'll notice over the next several days that it becomes glossy smooth and easy to use. Okay, well, what's happening is the silicone lubricant is eating away the plastic, and then any rough spot inside the cube, any sharp corner or any imperfection in the manufacturing, that gets rubbed off, and the inside of the cube becomes smoother and smoother and smoother. And after about 3 weeks or a month, it's very smooth. Then what you do is you take it apart and wipe it the inside with a cloth. And when you look at the cloth will be filthy with little tiny pieces of black plastic that have come off in the process of melting it and using it. And that's why you might have noticed the black plastic pieces stuck to the white core inside here, is because I'm partway through with that process. Then you sort of polish up the inside of these pieces. You can just do it with a rag, and then lubricate it with something like this, and you'll never have to lubricate it again, and it will be like amazingly smooth, glossy smooth. Anyway, it's kind of a long process, and that's probably ridiculously complex for an ordinary person, but I tend to be obsessive about things. And so they don't require any lubricant at all. You could lubricate it with something like this, but if you want the world's most awesome, smooth and amazing glossy Rubik's Cube, what you do is use something like this silicone lubricant for a month, every 3 or 4 days or so, being sure to not let it fuse together like I described. Then wipe and clean the pieces down one last time, and then lubricate it one final time with something like this. Anyway, so this is the end of my video on what Rubik's Cube to get and how to handle it.